fundamentals of bowling. Taught by champion Lee Jouglard to Fran Miller. This is Sam Levine. To help you to more fun in bowling, Lee will now take up the fundamentals of scoring and pin action in slow motion.
We're going to take up scoring. We're each going to bowl, I'd say about 4 or 5 frames, and we're going to comment on our score as we go along. But in the meantime, we have a fellow that I'd like to have you meet, Mr. Joe Tischler. Fran, this is Joe Tischler. How do you do, Fran?
Hi.
Well, Joe, if you will, I'd like to have you get over on the scoreboard, and Fran and I will start our little lesson. All right? Fran, you can go first. I'll take the second shot. Or the second frame, I should say. All right, now you have 7 pins, and you'll notice the pin indicator has registered the number of pins you've knocked down. Joe Tischler over here has marked the number 7 just in front of the box, and also you have cycle number 2, which means it's your second shot on the automatic. Now take your spare shot. Well, Fran, you still have 7 pins. Now, actually, that is a miss. So Joe has marked your miss and your 7 pins in the first frame. Now, I'm going to throw a frame, and we'll mark it up from there. The indicator registered that I had 9 pins knocked down. I have 1 pin standing, so nothing is marked yet until I shoot at this pin. You notice before you go, Fran, that in the first frame there, I have a spare mark. Joe has 9 marked just beside, which means I knocked down 9 pins on the first ball and a spare in the second. Now you can go ahead. Now you have the same setup as last time. You've had practice on it. This time you should make it. Well, Fran, that was much closer. Actually, the third time will probably be a charm. But you noticed on the first ball, you got 7 pins, which he has marked up. And on your second ball, you got 2 more, which would make 9. So he has marked 9 more in the second frame, added to 7 in the first, which makes 16. Now we're ready for mine. Did you notice that X on the pin indicator up there?
Yeah.
That meant a strike. So therefore it had its complete cycle and it went back to the number 1, which means that you're ready to throw the first ball. And up here, Joe Tischler has marked a strike, and I had a spare in the first frame, which means that I get 10 plus what I make on the next ball. I got 10 pins on the next ball, which is 20, which he has marked. That was almost a good one, with one exception. You had it on the wrong side, but nevertheless, 9 pins is 9 pins. That was the Brooklyn side, yes. You notice again, Joe has your 9 pins marked up. This time, let's make it a spare. You're off your usual form today.
Oh, I know.
I don't think you've been practicing quite enough. Well, that was close anyway. But now again, he's marked 9 in your third frame. He's added 9 to the second frame, which makes it 25. Now we're ready for my third frame. I'll try to make it good. And one other thing I'd like to have you notice is how I set myself. Take a little bit of time before I go. A little concentration. I looked like I needed a little more concentration there, didn't I? But when you're bowling and then waiting and bowling and waiting, sometimes it's a little difficult. It's best always to be ready when your turn comes and get up there and go. Here again, you see that Joe has marked the 7 pins in the third frame. Then I picked up the spare, so he's marked the spare and added 20 into my second frame, which makes it 40. And Joe, come over here. We want to thank you very much for coming in and keeping score for us. It's certainly been a pleasure having you.
It's certainly been a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Pin action. Watch what happens when the ball hits the pins.
This is our finale. You know that we've gone through all the fundamentals. You've picked them up real good. I mean, you're starting to look like a pro now. We're going to watch a motion picture film in slow motion so that you know what the pins do. We're going to use the Pindicator as an instruction panel. Actually, it's very important because wherever you go, you'll be asked questions about why this pin didn't fall or why this didn't fall or why you didn't get a strike.
Yeah.
Then you will know. Now, let's take the strike, for example. In order to get a perfect strike, or very similar to a perfect strike, you hit the 1-3 pocket with the ball, thereby carrying all of them off. Now, let's watch it on the film. Now, how did that look?
Oh, it looked real great.
You see, in slow motion like that, you can tell just which pin hits the other, thereby being able to tell someone else the same thing, because there are very few people that know actually the pin action in the back or which pin hits which pin when you get your strike. Now, let's take your full hit. That's a hit when you come in too heavy on the 1 pin, coming right down the center. Now, let's look at it on the film. Now, you see, in that manner, you don't get a strike. And that's one reason you have to stay away from that hit pin. Either side is all right. In fact, let's take the Brooklyn next. The Brooklyn is a strike by hitting the left side of the head pin in the 1-2 pocket. Now, you'll find if you hit it solid enough on the 1 pin, coming right in, it carries them all off again. Now, let's take a look at it. Now, that wasn't too bad, although actually that is a left-hander shot. A left-hander comes in from the left side, a right-hander comes in from the right side. Now, let's take the 1-2-4-7 as our spare. Now, you'll find this is a very, very common spare, but sometimes it's pretty difficult to pick up. Now, let's miss it first. And by missing it, you can hit high on the 1 pin, taking the 2 pin over in front of the 4, thereby leaving the 4-7. Now, let's watch it. All right, now let's try the 1-2-4-7 again, and this time we're going to make it. And we're going to make it by hitting the 1 pin on the right-hand side, or the outside, and each pin in turn knocks the other one out, thereby getting your spare. Now let's watch it done on slow motion. Now actually it looks simple when it's in slow motion, but you can see that it can be missed. Now let's try the 1-2-4-7 again, and this time we're going to make it by hitting the 1 pin on the left-hand side. The ball is going to carry the 2, and the 2 is going to carry the 4 and the 7. Right. Now let's watch it. Now we're going to have a little more difficult spare, the 2-4-5-8. Now that is difficult, although it is still very common. Here again, there's possibilities of picking a cherry, and by that I mean your ball can come through, take the 2, 4, and 8, and leave the 5 pin standing. Now that is a cherry. Now let's watch it being done. wish those shots were as easy as that in everyday bowling. Now, let's try that 2-4-5-8 again. This time we're going to make it and make it properly. When you shoot for the 2-4-5-8, it's best always to move to the left side of the alley so that it reduces your chances of chopping the 5. You hit the 2-pin fairly full on the right-hand side. The ball carries the 2, 5, the 2 carries the 4, and the ball carries the 8. Now let's watch it being done. There we have it. Now, one more, which is real common, is the 2-8. Now, the 2-8 is what's commonly called the sleeper. The 8-pin in the rear is the sleeper because when you're standing on the approach, it's very difficult to see that 8, but you know it's there. And in order to make this 2-8, you can hit this 2-pin full or heavy on either side. You can hit it on the right side or the left side, as long as you hit it heavy enough so that the ball doesn't deflect too much. The ball comes down, hits that 2-pin, and carries right on through, making the 8. Let's watch this one. Now, that wasn't too tough. It isn't too difficult to spare. Now, let's try a split. I think we'll try one of the most common splits, the 5-7. Now, that 5-7 is common because so many bowlers shoot for the pocket. And when you hit a light pocket hit, the ball doesn't carry through and it doesn't carry the 5. So, therefore, you leave that 5-7. Now, the method of picking that up is by hitting this 5-pin very lightly on the right-hand side, scooting that 5-pin right into the 7, thereby making the split. It isn't actually that simple, but let's watch it over here. How was that?
Oh.
The fellow that was doing that shooting was pretty good, don't you think?
Oh, sure was.
Well, Fran, that concludes all of our lessons. And I hope that this last one you'll really take with you. And just one word to you before we leave. It's been real nice instructing you. I've enjoyed it. I think you've picked the fundamentals up real good.
Well, thank you, and I want to thank you for the
Well,
lesson.
I hope that
Just
you've
wonderful.
enjoyed it.
W-L-I-N-G. We keep rolling, rolling, rolling. My baby and me. Bowling can never be boring. We play the game like this. A spare gets a hug in scoring, and a strike is a kiss. Let's go. B-O-W-L-I-N-G.
That's it for now. Best wishes for more fun in bowling. This is Sam Levine. Keep 'em rolling.